Your sales software shouldn't be a bummer. When you step inside your CRM, you should feel equipped to do your best work, like you're sitting in the pilot seat with easy-to-use and powerful controls. And that's the magic of HubSpot Sales Hub. The new Sales Hub is designed to help you win quarter over quarter and year over year. With an intuitive prospecting workspace and AI-powered tools that reduce your workload, managing leads is a lot less like manual labor. And closing deals? It's no big deal at all. Wrangle your day-to-day tasks on a seamless platform that makes navigating contacts, calls, and analytics easy. Get AI-powered tools like ChatSpot that are tailor-made to be personal assistants for your CRM. Just prompt it to pull up a contact, sum up last week's sales, or research your competitors. By automating steps across the sales pipeline, teams can take back their time and spend it on more impactful tasks like connecting with customers. Close more deals and get on track for your best Q1 yet. Learn about HubSpot Sales Hub at hubspot.com/sales. Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, January 11th. I'm John Weigell here with Juliet, Bennet, Ryla, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. Today, we're taking a closer look at Carta, a venture capital firm and software company valued at $7.4 billion. Their latest eyebrow-raising feat in a long line of questionable activity is about sharing confidential data from its customers. We'll get into that and much more, but first, let's give you the hits and headlines today across business and tech. So, kicking it off with some drones, Walmart is adding an additional 1.8 million households to its drone delivery service in Texas. The company is also launching new AI tools, including a platform to create virtual outfits and a tool that tracks shopping habits to keep your household items stocked, clearly presenting some competition for Amazon in the near future. Speaking of competition, the EV race is heating up. Honda is making good on its $40 billion promise to introduce 30 new EVs by 2030. The car maker announced its new EV line called the Honda Zero Series at the Consumer Electronics Show with sedan and van models, so keep a lookout for that one. Next, LeBron James signed a multi-year trading card deal with Fanatics Collectibles after working with competitor Upper Deck for more than 20 years. It's not the first time James has jumped to a rival, though. He ditched Coca-Cola after 18 years to work with Pepsi in 2021, so he's jumping brand by brand by brand. In live streaming news, Amazon-owned live streaming company Twitch is set to cut 500 employees, aka 35% of its overall workforce. This comes after 2 rounds of layoffs in 2023 as the live stream giant looks to try and make a profit, which they actually haven't done in the 9 years since Amazon took over, and even more before that. And finally, it's time to reveal America's best-selling alcohol last year. Despite my best efforts, it was not tequila. It was High Noon Hard Seltzer. High Noon sold a chart-topping 21.4 million cases, which is worth $1.5 billion in sales in 2023. Tito's Vodka pocketed the most cash, though. Its 12 million cases produced $2.5 billion in retail. So, Juliet, what do you think about High Noon taking the top of the liquor market?
I was actually pretty surprised by that. Not so much that it was a seltzer, because, you pick up a case and you take it to the party and, it's not like
Sure.
a bottle you have for a long time. I was just surprised that it was High Noon, though, because I feel like I am aware of them, but I don't see them.
Yeah, I guess I see them a lot here in stores because they are one of a few, at least in New York, I know that they're one of a few things that you can sell in an actual liquor store, because we in New York have a liquor store and a beer store with the same name, but they have to be 2 different buildings. You can't sell them both in the same place. Yeah. So the High Noons are always in the liquor store. So if you're in the liquor store, you don't have to go to the beer store. You just pick up the High Noons. That's a New York problem. But generally, I feel like most people are having problems with the calories in beer. And I think that's why White Claw got such a big push a few years ago. But that White Claw wave has kind of subsided. And I guess it's all High Noon vodka sodas nowadays.
Yeah, I guess I would have expected it to be White Claw is the thing, but maybe High Noon just tastes better. I can't remember having a High Noon, but my favorite seltzer was from this place. It's from Golden Road, which was a brewery here. I think it got bought by another bigger brewery, but for some reason their seltzers, they taste more like fruit than hairspray that's flavored with fruit, which is what a lot of seltzers
Yeah, because
taste like
most of them do taste like hairspray, and like I don't know. I just don't like I like the citrusy ones, like the grapefruity ones and stuff like that. But I don't know. Strawberry, like the sweet ones, just they never really got to me.
Yeah, if anyone's in the neighborhood and wants to stop by for a fruit punch flavored Truly, they've been in my fridge for like 6 years, or I don't know how long. They're gross. No one wants them. They just sit there.
It's
So,
great. So nice. What a gracious host. All right, moving on to our big story of the day. It centers around Carta, a venture capital firm that seems to always have some controversy attached to its name. The latest issue stems from misusing its own customers' data. Can you break this down for us a bit, Juliet?
Yeah, so I'd been hearing a lot about this hot goss, I guess, for a while, and I was like, I don't know anything about this. So they're a company worth over $7 billion, and they're big on the VC scene. Basically, what they do is they manage and protect cap tables. So that's short for capitalization table. And that is essentially just a detailed list of a company's current and potential stockholders. And that is important info, obviously, for the company and then potential investors. And Carta is a pretty big player in that scene. They manage that information for about 40,000 different startups.
Okay.
So then what happened was over on X, Kari Saarinen, he is the CEO of a software startup called Linear, essentially posted that a salesperson at a Carta subsidiary that focuses on the secondaries market had contacted a Linear angel investor saying that they had a firm buy order to buy their Linear shares. And Saarinen said that this person that they contacted was actually a family member who had never publicly disclosed their investment in the company, was not really online or anything. Linear was never asked to approve a sale. So the question is, how did this salesperson know that this person was an investor and all of that information about the shares, the stock that they own and how much, et cetera? So Saarinen essentially suspected that someone at Carta used Linear's cap table to connect a potential buyer to a Linear shareholder, essentially doing something pretty shady. Because it's like, you're supposed to be securely managing this data, and now it seems like one of your salespeople is using it for this other subsidiary company you have in the secondaries market. So big yikes. And this is all playing out in public, right? Because this is on X. So then the CEO of Carta, Henry Ward, was, pretty upfront about the fact that, an employee did violate internal policies and said that it affected 3 different companies, including Linear. Said that Carta would launch an investigation, reached out to the impacted founders. And then on Monday, he said that Carta would completely just drop the secondaries business so there would be no conflict of interest. So just done and over with. Now it's just the cap table thing.
Interesting.
In one way, like that feels like, okay, that's the thing you should have done. Like you get rid of the rogue employee, you figure out what happened and why, and then you completely exit this thing so that it can never happen again. But at the same time, Carta has kind of been in a lot of controversy. Saarinen later said that he'd actually heard from 7 different Linear investors and several companies, nearly 10, he wrote. I don't know if that means 8 or 9. I don't know why I just didn't say 8 or 9. But
nearly 10.
Right, nearly 10, who had received similar messages. And, it's like Ward's like, well, I found out about 3, but are there really nearly 10? Like, how widespread is this problem? Is it more widespread than Ward thinks? Or has he admitted? Unclear.
Yeah, very unclear. And it seems like this isn't the first time that they've had some controversies, a few odd controversies. I've heard their name in the news cycle before.
Yeah, so like looking into them a little bit more, they have been sued by former employees, women who are alleging sexual harassment, a toxic sort of guys culture. A lot of ex-employees have said that Henry Ward, the CEO in question, is kind of weird, basically saying he was demanding and vindictive. He definitely tends to put out memos and posts. He put out a memo about bad press that some people thought was really weird. I mean, that's kind of what he did with this. He put out a Medium post that was like, oh, I looked into what happened here and I'm coming forward with everything I know about this situation. And guess what? We're leaving the secondaries market. But occasionally, sometimes his memos people think are pretty weird. And there were clients that said Carta was erratic and difficult to work with, had poor customer service. And then the company also had several rounds of layoffs. And some of the things that I was reading is that those layoffs were very unexpected for people who were impacted by them. So it seems like they're just kind of having a bad year or a bad couple of years, despite being very successful. And as Axios pointed out, they have a really high valuation, but some of that valuation is based on the business that they just decided to close. So
yes.
And then it's like, I think the biggest problem is, or I think the biggest thing that they will have to deal with is, do customers still trust them? And then yesterday, Business Insider came out with a piece that I was reading where they talked to a couple of founders about, what's the future of Carta. And, some of them said, there are other businesses out there that have better pricing. Those would be AngelList and Pulley were two mentioned. And there was an investor who said, if people are looking to shop around, AngelList and Pulley are just as good, if not better. There was one investor who found that AngelList actually had better pricing, so switched from Carta to AngelList 2 years ago. So I think we'll see. Some people may just feel like it's not worth the hassle for me to switch my information. I did read a couple of people saying that they thought ChatGPT could do what Carta does. So that will be interesting to see if that is true. It's kind of a weird scandal because I also was reading an article about healthcare companies potentially selling your data to advertisers. And to me, it kind of feels very similar. Like if my healthcare company that I trust to protect my information is selling my information to advertisers, that's a little shady. And that feels like the relatable relatable thing for non-founders is just imagine you're paying a company to manage and protect your data, and then they use that data to try to make a profit off you.
Of course. And with data privacy being so important, it's something that we discuss a lot here, actually. With that being so important in this era, it does seem like companies should put that extra investment in creating trust with their customers. But if Carta doesn't want to continue to build that trust, it seems like it might flounder a bit soon. But obviously, a over $7 billion valuation seems like it bodes well, but let's see how the year plays out for them and if they have any more scandals or if they're able to kind of swing the PR in a good direction for themselves.
And it seems like he's trying, but I'm just wondering if maybe it's too late. And also, I will say my favorite thing about this entire story has nothing really to do with any of it. Since this whole thing kind of happened in public on X, it unfolded, and then he wrote a big X, like he must pay for the service because it's a lot of characters. But the way that it starts getting back to this now, was making dinner, in parentheses, American beef stew by Kenji, by the way. And I'm like, wait, I want to know more about this stew. I think it might be really good beef stew from Kenji's cooking show. And I think if you Google that, you can find a YouTube video on how to make this stew for yourself.
Wow.
And you can immerse yourself in this scandal with a hearty beef stew.
Yes. And that is going to do it for us today, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Hustle Daily Show. We are a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor today is Ezra Tripiano, and our executive producer is Darren Clarke. We've got a lot more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go get yourself signed up at thehustle.co/email. And we will see you tomorrow. All right, everybody. I've been listening to this podcast lately. It's fantastic. It's called DTC Pod, hosted by Ramon Barrios and Blaine Bolus. It's brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, which is the audio destination for business professionals. DTC Pod is a podcast about all things direct to consumer, as it says in the title. Ramon and Blaine cover everything from starting, growing, and optimizing e-commerce stores and DTC or D2C brands. They have a lot of great conversations with founders, marketers, platforms, creators, and marketing and growth agencies to cover all these topics like brand building, social media, influencer marketing, website conversion, paid media, Facebook ads, consumer trends, email marketing, and much, much more, if you could even believe it. If you're interested in stories behind your favorite consumer brands, this podcast is tailor-made for you. Just the other day, I was listening to an episode and their guest was Mikey Taylor. Mikey started as a professional skateboarder and flipped his life into becoming a huge entrepreneur dealing in real estate, owning his own brewing company, and also owning a skateboard company called Sovereign Skateboards. This guy really flipped his life into something insane, and it's so cool to listen to how he did it every single step of the way. Definitely go check that episode out. It's really, really inspiring. And you can listen to DTC Pod wherever you get your podcasts.